Undead Unluck Chapter 233 and 234 are out, and these are back-to-back amazing chapters that I cannot state enough how much I enjoyed them and how hyped I was after reading them. With such great plot twists and some great reveals, I just could not stop smiling while reading these chapters. Now, I know I missed Chapter 233 last week, but that was mainly because I was on vacation, so I couldn't record and edit a video, so enjoy a double review for Undead Unluck as we try and get back to regular, consistent chapter reviews for the series. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now then, on with the chapter. Chapter 233 of Undead Unluck, titled Easter Egg, starts with Luna talking about how FUUKO managed to basically get the most amount of seats at the round table in recorded history, and over 20 negators are fighting in Ragnarok, with no animosity between them and a singular goal uniting them. They're fighting to slay Sun, the god. But even so, there's still a few pieces short. Sean, while this is all going on, is asking FUUKO for the rundown of what happened in the previous loop's Ragnarok, because he was already dead at that point, so he never experienced what was going on. So he wants to know what they're up against and how they fought. FUUKO states that in the previous loop, they had two of the sacred spirit treasures, powerful sacred artifacts known as Rebellion, Aegis, and the Heart. These specific artifacts were designed to slay God, and even with two of these sacred treasures, Rebellion and Aegis, they couldn't beat him. And right now, their only hope, like Sean says, seems to be finding the Heart, and that they'll have to go out and look for it. Luna says, while watching this, that yeah, without the Heart, they won't be able to overcome Ragnarok. And so, FUUKO asks Julia if they had any leads on it, but Julia says that they scoured the whole world but never found it. Not even a clue, and it wasn't even a quest reward, which narrows it down as well, because the other sacred treasures were also quest rewards. Before things progress even further, they realize that not only are a bunch of Souls attacks hitting the ground of the earth and aren't affected by unmove and is outside of their range, but half of the beam split off that's hitting the giant unbreakable shield and is beginning to hit the ground, meaning that the earth will soon be destroyed by Sun's attacks. Now FUUKO is trying to come up with how the Heart can be hidden and where they can find it, because she states specifically that Luna views this as a game between her and Sun, to see whose vision of the world can shape itself into. And Luna already prepared the means to fight in this final war. Negators and artifacts. And the artifacts are specifically crafted to really fight Sun, and so they can't ignore them. Julia gives the possibility that it might be a bluff, but FUUKO refutes it, saying that in the previous loop, Un, the person with the unknown negation ability, was given the G-Liner by Luna, which awakened their unknown ability, and since G-Liner allows them to draw out the future, giving it to the negator, who cannot be visibly seen for the most part, is the perfect hiding place for such an important, advantageous ability and artifact to help them in their fight. And so with that in mind, that the Heart was always there from the beginning, but they just don't know where it is. It's somewhere difficult to find, and that Luna specifically chose how and where it can be found. And so she's trying to rack her brain, because right now they're at the level where they can figure it out. Cutting back to Luna, she says that FUUKO is correct, and that it lies within the ficklest and most dangerous location in this world. And even if they figure out where its location is, they won't even be able to touch it, because that location means death. And so, as they're trying to figure out where the sacred treasure could be, FUUKO is trying to think like Luna, figure out where she would place it, what would be the best option for her to hide this ever-important item, as Sean calls out and gives his perspective on it, his time in the gang in his previous loop. If they wanted to hide the important stuff, they would either hide it in one specific place or keep it moving. Keep it moving with one particular person that even the cops couldn't touch, and keep spreading it out throughout multiple people. Especially with the case that Julia, in terms of looking for the Heart in previous loops, already stomped out the possibility that it's hidden in one particular place, which leaves the option of it constantly being moved. And this information hits FUUKO. She's starting to realize what that means, that it's always moving and that it could be a person holding it. And if that person hasn't been found after this many loops, then that person must not be aware that they have the heart themselves. The holder must change each and every time. And Soul called them all players. And if Luna also views negators as players in this game, then a negator is unconsciously holding the heart, and that it's someone amongst all of them. Luna confirms this while watching that it is a negator that holds it. And at the previous loop, Jules' party consisted of Victor, Gina, Nico, and Void, so they can get rid of them instantly, as Luna is continuously telling FUUKO on her assumptions while she's thinking that she is correct. FUUKO says that can they not find it because it's within some person's body? What makes it even more difficult to obtain the artifact under these conditions, and that it needs to be in someone's body. And simultaneously, as FUUKO realizes on a crucial piece of information, Luna also confirms it, that this person, they're the vessel among all the negators who is the hardest to touch and the easiest to die, causing the holder to constantly change hands. This was unaccounted for by Luna. She never thought that she would have survived and lived all this time. As FUUKO thinks back to the Unluck negators that she saw by looking into the soul, when they said, "Thank you for living all this time. We are so glad that we picked you." As FUUKO realizes that her heart is the sacred treasure heart. As she makes this realization, and Andy realizes it also. And Luna has this despicable shit-eating grin. And I like how the two parts of the sound effect ends up looking like Luna has two sinister-looking eyes. I kind of like the placement of that. As FUUKO realizes that whoever touches it will have the greatest stroke of unluck in history befall them. As she grabs Andy, pleading with him to pull out and use her heart. As that ends chapter 233. Now, you can imagine my absolute shock at the end of that chapter, and it made me regret not bringing my equipment to make a review then and there. But, beauty of this, we can jump to the next chapter and talk about how things progress from this point forward. So, while this was a really, really great twist, it makes so much sense considering how in previous loops, chances are FUUKO died relatively easily, and her ability makes it incredibly difficult for people to even touch her. It's the perfect hiding spot for probably one of, if not the most important item that they could use in their fight in Ragnarok. It makes so much sense, and recontextualizes a lot of what we know so far, and also gives us confirmation as to why the previous wielders of FUUKO's ability were glad that they picked FUUKO of all people. It's insane, and I freaking love it. But enough gushing. Let's jump into chapter 234, the most recent chapter, Know All Along. And as FUUKO yelled this out, we cut from the previous chapter right now, as everybody realizes that FUUKO's heart is the heart, which means they take it out, FUUKO is gonna die. But Andy says with full confidence, "You sit tight, I'm gonna pull it out right now." As Nico smacks him over the head, saying, "Are you an idiot? FUUKO isn't undead like you idiot. If you do that, she'll die." But Andy reminds Nico that he knows her the most and the longest out of anybody in this loop, so he should know by now. Once something gets into her head, there ain't no point in negotiating. It's full throttle from there. And I like that this panel just shows FUUKO with a full stern, confident look on her face. As Andy says, "You guys know too, right? There's no convincing her once she's locked in." And that's exactly why she was able to stand with all of you as a team up till now. We can't keep dodging its attacks forever, so let's hurry it up. Now Nico says, "Well, you know us too, right? We couldn't help but be influenced by protecting a boss as headstrong as her, while running through our best options. As multiple people come to FUUKO's aid, being Sean, Chikara, Tatiana, Gina, with Nico, as they all get ready to prepare for open heart surgery, and they're all going to use each and every one of their negation abilities to keep FUUKO alive during this surgery. As they're preparing this, Soul yells, stating, "Do you really think I'm just going to sit back and let you guys do this?" As he then charges up a massive beam to strike them all in one instance, primarily targeting FUUKO to just end this right here and then. It's then that someone says for them to get out of the way, and a giant beam hits Sun right in the chest, canceling out their attack and knocking them back a bit. As Nico says, "So you finished it in time, Ichiko." The custom, unavoidable, undecrease, unfeel superior buster. As Void, Creed, and Phil are using the same weapon that they used in the previous loop, but this time with Void, Sun cannot move out of the way and avoid this attack, so they'll keep hitting Sun with this attack for as long as humanly possible so that they can get this whole operation done. Honestly, this is the perfect final form of this weapon, which is awesome. And now this surgery is starting to get started. Nico telling them not to touch FUUKO's skin or her hair and to pay close attention. Gina's going to use her Unchanged to stop the bleeding. Tatiana can create a perimeter with Untouchable now, so this will help them be protected. And what's interesting is that Rip takes Shen to do something else. They put FUUKO under anesthesia to put her to sleep, but they won't be able to act further if she is asleep. But Ichiko says that now she can use her Unsleep ability to wake other people up. So now she is an external targeter now, which is really, really cool now that she's learned more stuff about her negation ability. And they're going to use Shikara's Unmove on FUUKO and the pods in front of her. And Kuru confirms that there have been evacuations for local residents, so it's looking like this final battle isn't going to take any innocent lives so far. And with this, they're about to get started truly with this open heart surgery. As FUUKO says, "I sure am lucky, aren't I? After all, I managed to meet all these wonderful people." As she goes unconscious, as we then get to see them perform the surgery on FUUKO. And man, this image of FUUKO just getting this heart surgery is just insane. Because like, it is graphic without being too graphic. And I was not expecting to see this in Undead Unluck, but man, was this kind of a little hard to watch for an instance, at least for me. But man, that is just a little hard to look at because I don't like seeing FUUKO like that, even though it is a plan that's being worked on. But when FUUKO falls unconscious, she's in an empty void, wondering if she's actually dying after all. But Luna appears, saying she's not dead yet. And since she's unconscious, she figured that she would talk to FUUKO a bit about the heart. She says that she's impressed that they figured out that it was in her body. But once she hears the risk, I doubt you'll even use it. But FUUKO says, "Oh, I can pretty much imagine what those are. Not only would there be a stroke of unluck upon extraction, but knowing you, the heart needs something as a cause to activate, right?" As Luna's impressed, "You're employing it while aware of the risks." FUUKO just laughs it off, saying, "I mean, pretty late to be talking like that now, isn't it? How many hundreds of millions of years do you think we've been playing this broken mess of a game?" As Luna doesn't seem too amused and is just staring at FUUKO like, huh. As she seems kind of, I don't know, maybe disappointed or a little maybe sad. Maybe she grew a liking to FUUKO despite liking to watch everyone suffer. She says, "Then you'll sacrifice yourself to attain victory in this game, I take it." As FUUKO said, "I intended to, but that's not what's going to happen. Didn't you hear me earlier? I've got luck." As we see everyone performing surgery on FUUKO, as things seem to be going wrong. The artificial heart isn't working and is malfunctioning now of all times, as they even bring up having Andy being hooked up to FUUKO to keep her alive a bit longer, but that will only buy them a few minutes. Luna's trying to tell FUUKO that seems like everything's going wrong right now. But FUUKO points out something interesting, that Rip isn't there right now, and neither is Shen. As then, in the next page, we see a familiar face in this awesome 2-page spread. As I say, I'm pretty sure FUUKO's unlock powers are leaking out from the heart in the vicinity. In that case, I'll try this from here. As they shout out to Andy, saying, "Go ahead and tear her heart out. Let me handle the rest." As Ano1, aka Unknown, appears with Shen and Rip right behind them. And this is right now 100% a full all hands on deck moment with every major player in this series here and now in the final battle, and Ana 1 has the rewinding artifact that they used earlier on in the previous loop that brought Rip back to his full strength during the Autumn arc. So, really, really cool. And even Luna is surprised that they found him at all. And it's confirmed that they kind of begrudgingly used Move, using Shen's untruth to make Move do as they said. And so they ended up fighting Ana 1, gave them the G-Liner, and thus awakening their ability, and using the G-Liner to draw the artifact in order to use its de-aging properties. So that was why Rip, earlier on in the chapter, snatched away Shen. This is perfect planning and everything makes sense. It looks like that Ana 1 saved their bacon again, which, one of the most reliable characters in the series. But then Luna talks to Andy and FUUKO telepathically, saying, "Are you sure about this? You plan on rewinding your body's time with that artifact the moment he pulls out your heart then. That would indeed allow you to avoid death from the extraction. However, the cost that triggers upon using the heart, that is something that cannot be avoided. Just as rebellion absorbed hatred to convert into power, the heart also absorbs and converts a certain emotion into power, confirming that the emotion is love that is possessed by all humans, and that if they use it, then they will lose all the love that they've built up thus far and any memories associated with it. And now that you're aware of that, will you take the heart?" But FUUKO says, "I'm gonna use it. Of course." As Andy in a nice awesome 2-page spread rips out FUUKO's heart, saying, "As long as you're alive, I'll make you so many new memories that they'll make you wanna croak." And then activate the Life is Strange artifact to de-age FUUKO 1 year. That way her body will have an actual heart again, and de-ages Shen by 10 years as the cost. And yeah, this will end up taking away time from Ana 1 as a consequence of that artifact. But after that's used, FUUKO wakes up in the material world, takes off the mask, and says, "Looking forward to it." As the chapter ends, they have the heart, and FUUKO is awake and ready to fight. This was an awesome batch of chapters. I love this series so damn much, and I regret not covering it back when I first caught up with the manga, because this series had so much stuff going on over the last 3 years, and I'm just kicking myself now that I'm talking about it in the final arc and the final battle, and man, I really wish I talked about this series a lot more. But yeah, FUUKO's heart being the sacred artifact that will help them win the day. Whoever uses it, the amount of love that they have in their heart will be used as the fuel, and they will lose all their memories and emotions connected to that love. As the cost, that's insane. But I also like Andy, since he is undead, saying that as long as it takes, we'll make new memories, and that's just really freaking sweet. I'm not gonna lie, that instance where FUUKO says that she is so lucky to have met so many people hit home for me, because we all know what happened to her before meeting Andy. We all know everything that she's gone through throughout the entirety of the series, with how much she had unluck and how it made her life miserable. Until she met everybody, went through all this, now saved everybody. She's made the friends and connections that she never had the chance to make in her first life. And now, she just has everything right now, and she's so lucky, and I'm not gonna lie, that brought a tear to my eye. FUUKO's such a great character, and I love the journey that she's gone through throughout the entirety of the series, and all these characters coming in clutch and helping in this instance in a huge team effort. Man, this series has just been some of the best manga I've read over the last couple of years, and I'm gonna be sad when this eventually ends, but we still got a whole bunch of more chapters to lay out before this series eventually ends, before we get an actual confirmation of this series officially being over soon. So we just gotta wait and see what happens next, because we still got Soul, we still got Sun, we still got something going with Luna potentially, so there's still a lot to really consider for the finale of Undead Unluck. But I'm liking where things are going so far, and I cannot wait to see where the series goes before it ends. But what do you guys think of these chapters? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.